One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Culture Train. I'm Josh, here by my lonesome as Ben is sick. But thanks to the miracle of the internet, we were able to watch our black and white film together, just not in the same room. And I don't know if that makes anybody else uncomfortable, but I don't know if I like the future. So hello, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's classic black and white film is a little something we like to call The Thin Man, directed by W.S. Van Dyke, produced by Hunt Stromberg, written by V. Albert Hackett and Francis Goodrich, based on The Thin Man by V. Dashiell Hammett, starring William Powell, Myrna Loy, music by William Axt, cinematography by James Wong Howe, and it was distributed by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer in 1934. So why, pray tell, did we watch The Thin Man? Well, because detective stories are cool, drunk detective stories are even cooler, and drunk detective stories with a little dog as their best friend is probably the trifecta of coolness. That little dog's name is Asta, and is probably the most popular character in the series. Oh, wait, holy Jiminy shitbits. Yep, this was a series. First one was The Thin Man, which is the one we watched. Then after that came After the Thin Man, obviously. Then came Another Thin Man. Holy shit, there's 3. Then came Shadow of the Thin Man, 4. Then The Thin Man Goes Home, finally. Then came Song of the Thin Man, which was a very lyrical, strange addition to the group. And then Alias Nick and Nora, which sounds like a Lifetime original movie. But anyway, there were many. They were very popular. William Powell, Myrna Loy were in all of them, including Asta, who's the dog, by the way, in case you weren't paying attention. But the actor that played the dog in the first one's name was actually Skippy, if you really care. I do, so I thought I'd tell you. The Thin Man was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Picture. It didn't win because a little movie called It Happened One Night happened to win that year. It was directed by W.S. Van Dyke from a script by Albert Hackett and Francis Goodrich. The screenplay, thank you Wikipedia, was based on the mystery novel The Thin Man by Dashiell Hammett, which was supposedly based on his relationship with the playwright Lillian Hellman. Also in this movie is a man I think those of us who have watched the Adam West 60s Batman series know. Cesar Romero was in this film. Not wearing Joker makeup, so I had no idea who the hell he was until my grandfather pointed him out to me, and then I went, oh, yeah. Anyway, it's the story of Detective Nick Charles and his sexy wife, Nora. They are trying to settle down into a life of solitude and drunken bliss when they're pulled back into service by a person's disappearance and a possible involvement in a murder. The person that they're looking for is a man named Clyde Wynant, sorry. I know you're keeping score, who disappears and then is thought to have been involved in a murder. Well, now, William Powell's Nick Charles is a detective who they hire to come and find him, much to his chagrin. All he really wants to do this entire movie is drink. Coincidentally enough, what I want to do when watching these movies. And yet can't seem to find a drink, which is something I can understand. And he doesn't do anything to hide that either. I think perhaps the most interesting part of this movie is the way Nick tries to sneak away to drink himself to sleep and yet is unable to do so through random circumstances. What's interesting about this movie, I thought, is that it is really funny, even by today's standards, which I think tend to go a little more crude and a little more obvious. This one's a little more clever, witty, whimsical. It's relaxing. It's the kind of movie you want to watch when you have a cold because you have nowhere to go, you're trapped, and you might as well have a good time while you're doing it. Now, this isn't the kind of movie you want to get high and hang out with a bunch of people and watch because all you're going to do is lose your mind at how goofy these people are. That being said, I think part of the charm of this movie is how goofy these people are because you don't get that a lot in movies anymore. Everything's so precise and well cut that you don't get that theatrical feel that you do in a movie like this, especially when it's a comedy, which by today's standards is more farcical than it is comedic because of the way the dialogue was structured, and it was all one-liners and like 1, 2, 3 punch kind of jokes. Whereas today, it's if it's a comedy, it has to be dirty and about office employees doing something to break out of the status quo, getting drunk and getting lost somewhere in some nondescript Midwestern country. This one's got class, and it has good characters all coming together that are mismatched just enough that it's really funny, but yet you don't lose believability there. Now, why is it called The Thin Man? It's called The Thin Man because the person that our hero is looking for is referred to as a thin man. They find a bunch of clues that lead them to a skeleton in a fat guy's clothes, and they refer to that skeleton as the Fat Man because the clothing is too big for the skeleton, therefore it must have been a fat guy. But was it? So I won't ruin the movie for you, although I probably already have. But anyway, you should go watch it because it's funny. It really isn't about the mystery, because the mystery isn't as interesting as the witty repartee that these characters go through, most especially the man himself, Mr. William Powell, who is probably the most charming alcoholic that we've seen in this project so far. Here's a little bit of trivia for you in case you were curious. The entire film was shot in 12 out of 14 days. The interior scenes were shot in the Bidwell Mansion in Chico, California, and the film was released on May 24th, 1934, only 5 months after the release of the book, which had been released in January of 1934. In 1997, the film was added to the United States National Film Registry, having been deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. And in 2000, the American Film Institute acknowledged this film as one of the greatest comedies in the previous 100 years of cinema. And that's all well and good. But it found out today that Johnny Depp will star in a remake of the film directed by Rob Marshall. How much longer must we endure the blatant rape of classic cinema, ladies and gentlemen? And if there's anybody out there that knows of a way to make it stop, let me know. That being said, The Thin Man is a great little time capsule piece of classic cinema that I would recommend to everyone, from my 90-year-old friends to my 9-year-old friends. May they never meet in public. And now, because my good and dear friend and partner in this project, Ben, was not here, he emailed me his thoughts, and I'm going to read them verbatim. First of all, loyal listeners, I'd like to issue a formal reprimand to my partner in cinema viewing, Josh, for his reprehensible choice of a film to review. Of course, I'm not speaking of the film's quality itself, nay, I'm referencing the abhorrent title itself. How many propositions and titles and raving conservatives do us slender folk to have to go through before you will recognize the insensitivity of this type of film? Thin? You might as well call us quaint or dainty. We're slender, goddammit, and we will not be repressed by your state-sanctioned titles. All political ramblings aside, I did enjoy this movie. I had read the book version by the dreamy Dashiell Hammett years ago, but luckily my youthful and experimental days in college have all but destroyed my short-term memory. As such, this film was quite fun. It had murder, a cute dog, and a less than reverent approach to dealing with a murder by drinking and making a jolly show out of it. Did I enjoy this movie? Yes. Was I actually excited or thrilled by it? Yeah, they did a great job. Honestly, I wasn't too excited by this one. I'll give it the exception that I've already acclimated myself to the story, or what happens therein, but the plot twists only served as faint jogs of my memory. I did genuinely enjoy the acting and the production of the film. It's just that I'm aware that I'm of the age where The Departed or Old Boy are the golden standards of thrillers, or at least thrillers that will surprise and shock me in any way. I love Dashiell Hammett, though, and I was glad to see his excellent storytelling and wit used in this film. While completely unrealistic, the lightning-quick dialogue was quick and snappy and served as a great example of the language that film noir embraced. Cinematically, it's nothing to sneeze at, but for those less desensitized to the simple elements of the thriller, I'm sure it would keep them intrigued. Please, God, don't read that last sentence. I sound like a douche, but I have no idea how else to put it. Well, no, Ben, you don't sound like a douche. You're right. We are of a different age. We're of a different element. We've been through a lot. of different films, and we're accustomed to a different style. However, I never really looked at this movie as a thriller. I looked at it as a comedy, and I think that it does its job just fine. As far as the other thrillers that we've seen so far, or will see soon, I think you'll find that a lot of them owe a lot of what they have to a lot of these movies, which we haven't hit yet. That being said, Ben writes, I'll leave you with my favorite moments of the film, Nick's quick thinking that leads him to slap a woman unconscious, or the unavoidably worthless scene of that lovable mutt chasing a balloon and popping it. If there's two things that can bring a smile to a slender man's face, it's those two. Now, Ben, I agree with most of what you're saying. The only thing I don't agree with is that Finn is noted as being dainty. I think the thin man makes him sound like he's a tall man who eats nothing but carob and edamame, which is good for you. And that'll about do it for the Culture Train. The Thin Man, worth your time? I think so. Was it as intense as the previous? No. Was it a welcome change of pace? Absolutely. I would call it a sorbet or a lemon bar in the film buffet. And next week, I'm sure we'll find something even more intense. I don't know what it's going to be, so don't ask me. See you then.